Hey, what's going on everybody, Gus here. So, Apple Music has been recently updated with Dolby Atmos, Spatial Audio, and Lossless Quality Audio, and both from your questions and comments, and from my time testing it all, I guess, one, I can try and help you guys better understand what each of those things are and how to take advantage of it, but two, I think we need to talk about why that whole lossless business really doesn't matter. Oh, and also why Dolby Atmos does. Alright, so first things first, we need to brush up on a couple of key concepts to better understand all of these things and why lossless doesn't matter. But don't worry, I will refrain from going in too deep and getting too technical because there are plenty of other more knowledgeable people online and better literature if you guys really want to go in detail in these things. But here's the broad of it. What is high resolution and lossless quality audio? Well, an audio file is basically a compilation, a stack of information that was transformed from the original, analog recording into a digital file, right? So the bigger the file, the more information it has about that original analog recording, which means more information, you can get closer to the real original analog thing. High-resolution files have a lot of information, and I mean a lot. And lossless files, well, technically should mean that it has no loss of that transference. It loses nothing from the original analog recording being transformed into a digital format. And this is obviously an oversimplification, but you guys got the big picture, right? Now here's why I think this whole lossless business is pointless, okay? As a frame of reference, CD quality usually translates to 16-bit 44.1 kHz wave files, right? That calculates to about 1411 kilobit per second per file in terms of information that it has stored in there. And that's a standard that was adopted universally because with this much information, those files already have everything they need to even play out frequencies that you as a human person can't really hear. Most likely. Now going scientific for a really brief second here, in an ideal laboratory situation, in an ideal laboratory condition, through testing, humans have been found, some humans, not all, to hear as low as 12 Hz and as high as 28 kHz. But outside of those testing parameters and in those, specific conditions, the broad of humanity basically listens from 20 Hz to 20 kHz, which is why that range has been basically used as a baseline for audio equipment everywhere. When you buy a new pair of speakers or a new set of headphones and it says that the frequency range is from 20 Hz to 20 kHz, yeah, that's why. But it turns out that the majority of people out in the world actually don't listen, they don't hear anything above 18 kHz. And many people don't hear anything above 16 kHz. And that's not only due to biological and physiological differences, humans aren't all identical, but that can also be affected by external factors like stress that your ears have received throughout the years, or even your age, for example. Which means that even if our recording instruments and our headphones can tell that yes, there is information here to play a sound at 18.7 thousand Hertz, we most likely cannot hear that, so I guess you can call it useless information. Now going a bit further down that rabbit hole, there are plenty of studies and tests that actually show files with 320 kilobit per second of information and quality in them already account for basically every frequency that the majority of people are capable of hearing. And at 320 kilobit per second, that file is 77% smaller than CD quality. And it's one of the most popular higher quality but lossy formats around. Since this is generalization and oversimplification, you can find people out there that will be able to tell the difference between a 320 kbps file and CD quality, and even beyond CD quality, really. But even for those people with extremely acute hearing, by the way, that will really depend on a number of factors. Like for example, the equipment that's being used, the DACs, the amps, all that kind of stuff, the headphones or speaker system being used too, the songs being played, the mastering on those songs, the arrangements, the mixings, and most importantly, whether or not out, those people are actually looking for the difference. You know, instead of listening to the music for the fun of it, actually trying to listen to the music, looking for a difference from that specific song between different files. And this distinction is important because, and we all do this, so be honest, we usually think of ourselves as being at least a little bit better than everyone else, you know, a little bit above average. But the truth is, even for those people who have actually something probably physiological that allows them to do it, to listen to those specific sounds, even they usually, you know, chug off those differences in most cases as being, yeah, there seems to be something different there, but it could also be an impression. Alright, so far so good. Now, to drive the point home, remember that CD quality we were talking about? 1411 kbps per file? Yeah, that is lower than the very first level of lossless playback Apple Music has available, which means that there is potentially even more information there than you could probably hear. So can you imagine just how much unnecessary stuff, unnecessary information is being streamed or stored in those super high resolution lossless files if you choose to go for that route? Just consider that from this print from iOS's own options, those super high resolution lossless files are 400% larger. That's 145 megabytes for a 3-minute song that at 30 megabytes roughly, which is CD quality, would already be capable of playing certain frequencies that you can't hear. And that, just for the fun of it, at 12 megabytes for a 320 kilobit per second file, would already be able to play pretty much everything that you can actually hear with minimal or no waste. That's why I'm saying that this whole lossless business is irrelevant. Granted, up to that 320 kilobit per second threshold of quality in your files, you are indeed losing information. Anything below that, you are definitely leaving detail behind. Not necessarily detail that's going to make what you're listening like complete trash, but you are not getting the whole picture. And we can all agree on that, but from that point onwards, pretty much every difference is either going to be skewed by our perception and placebo effects just as much as anything that would be actually listenable in terms of quality difference. When talking specifically about Apple Music, sure, since there's $0 extra to pay to have access to all that lossless stuff, I would definitely go for the middle ground, which would be the first level of lossless instead of high quality or high resolution lossless, because my aim is to get as close to the sweet spot as possible. That sweet spot being the smaller file I can get in my hands with the biggest amount of information without actually, throwing away bandwidth or storage allocation with frequencies that I can't probably hear, because why? Or, in other words, CD quality is where it's at, if you want anything above 320, just in case. Okay, so we tackled lossless. Now, second on our agenda for today would be, what is Dolby Atmos? And since I took way too long talking about lossless, I'm going to try to make this super quick, okay? So the super short answer to that question is, it's an evolution of the concepts of 5.1 and 7.1 surround sound, but taken to a completely new level. Dolby Atmos is, again in an oversimplification of things, a technology that allows you to mix and master and place sounds coming from everywhere around you in what can potentially be a three-dimensional sphere. If you've ever sat down to listen and enjoy a masterfully mixed and produced stereo album and got goosebumps from what those two channels moving left and right were able to do, you're in for one hell of a ride with something like Dolby Atmos. And that's exactly why this thing is so awesome, so important, and why you should not only care about it, but care about it more than this whole lossless business. Because it doesn't matter if the file is 320, 1411, or over 9000 kilobit per second, all the frequencies that you can potentially hear are in any one of those files already. But if you add in something like Dolby Atmos with spatial audio, you add into those songs the ability, or at least the potential, to gain another dimensionality to the experience that you're being delivered, which can be extremely impressive and much more fulfilling to actually experience than anything a super high resolution or high bitrate file could ever deliver. Which gets us to item number 3 for the agenda today, spatial audio, which is a really big part of this whole conversation when talking specifically about Apple Music, because it allows something like a measly pair of AirPods and AirPods Pro and even AirPods Max to be able to fool you into an experience that seems like you're not even using headphones to listen to whatever it is that's playing through your ears. Which is not to say that you can't find bad sounding stuff that's trying to use Atmos but wasn't, properly prepared, produced, mixed, or whatever to actually use the technology. There are some things out there that are really not good, but if you listen to something that is good, that's hitting the jackpot right there. But how do you use it? Well, if you are at all excited and want to take advantage of this stuff, there are a couple of things that you need to know and consider. First things first, to enable all these features, you need to go to your settings, scroll down to music, and there you will be able to set the quality of your streams over cellular, Wi-Fi, and the quality of your downloads, as well as enabling Dolby Atmos either automatically, which works perfectly with AirPods, always on mode, always off mode, and even set your downloads to also come in Atmos, obviously when it's available. From there, within the music app, whenever you're playing something that has one of those things, a stamp will tell you if it has Dolby Atmos or if it has lossless or both, or even if it has also, Apple mastering quality, which is yet another thing, but not a discussion for right now. In terms of equipment, for lossless quality, you absolutely need to wire up, because it doesn't matter which Bluetooth headphones you're using or which codecs you're using through those headphones, Bluetooth is capped at below CD quality. And for high resolution lossless, well, it's basically the same thing, but in an even more extreme situation, even more hardcore, so wire up. And as for the rest of your equipment, well, basically every DAC ever made, I think, well, today at least, basically every DAC that you can find out there can already translate a frequency response from 20 to 20,000 hertz, which is basically, matching or exceeding both ends of what humans can hear. And since that's universal and also applies to amplifiers, headphones, and speakers, you can basically just stop worrying, because all the equipment that you already have is beyond capable of playing everything. Alright? You're good. For Dolby Atmos though, the conversation is slightly different, because yes, it is available through other platforms and not only through Apple Music, like Tidal for example, but in most if not all of those other platforms, you are probably still going to be confined to wired headphones and speaker options to be able to take advantage of it. But by contrast, because it combines with spatial audio and spatial audio is supported by every single AirPod, you have a huge advantage on that side of the fence for using Apple Music, because you can access all of that seamlessly wireless. Sometimes being in the ecosystem really does have its advantages, and this is a really big one if you're into music. But in the end, that's what's most important, right? The quality and the availability of the experience that you are looking for. And considering all of this, at least to me, it does seem like there's way too much being said about and for lossless audio, while the conversation about Atmos has kind of been sidelined. Quality for the sake of quality, when it's basically theoretical quality like this case, it's useless. It doesn't matter, it's irrelevant, and it brings no improvements to you, which is almost the same discussion as we used to have about Tidal MQA versus Spotify, for example. I've heard plenty of people say that Tidal brings more quality because of MQA compared to Spotify, which can be even heard in the volume of the songs, how loud they are. But time and time again, as I sat down with my friends to have a conversation about that, I take a look at their apps, and the Tidal one doesn't have volume normalization turned on, which is its default, while Spotify has it turned on, which is its default. And obviously by that alone there is going to be a difference in volume, but that doesn't mean a difference in quality. That's basically placebo effect. And before you say anything, there are legitimate differences in the masters available through every one of those services. 100% are. But any actual quality differences are more likely going to be linked to the differences in the masterings and you liking one more than the other, and even the color of the shirt that you're using, before the discussion ever gets anywhere close lossless as an argument. So to sum it up, don't get caught and swept away by the hype. Don't worry about the equipment that you have. You're good with whatever it is that you already own. Choose and use a service that better delivers the experience that you are looking for. And if you are going to compare features, pay more attention to stuff like Dolby Atmos and spatial audio and stuff that actually brings quality of life improvements to the experience that you're looking for, before looking at gimmicks like Lossless and other stuff like it. And most importantly, above everything else, go have fun with your music. Seriously. As for me, on my end, at least for now, I'm definitely sticking with Apple Music because this update has been fire. It's been so good. So that's been it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, so check out these other ones that might also be of interest to you. All the links are as usual down below, but if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Gus, and I'll catch you guys later.